This week, the latest way of treating many of the symptoms of Parkinson's with focused ultrasound. Lara meets a man who is desperate for a solution.
It's very difficult to explain, but...
you want to get back control?
Yes, I need to get back control of that.
Paul meets the scientists who've created a more natural way of cleaning up so-called forever chemicals.
Michael KCILCK is in Kenya, where technology is helping to sustain communities that rely on fish for their living.
For these women, many of them are less fortunate. Some of them are widows and single mothers. So they're earning from this fish now.
And Andrew Rogers sniffs out the next big thing in gaming. Maybe.
Can you smell it now?
I think so. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah.
I can smell it from here, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
Parkinson's is the fastest growing neurological condition in the world. At the moment, drugs are the first line of treatment. But at this Madrid hospital, I'm meeting a man whose life could be transformed by the latest use of a high-tech therapy. Hola, Pablo Español.
Hola.
How are you feeling about the procedure?
The procedure, well, now I am just for a few hours to go and finally if this is going to be the final solution or not. It's going to be a miracle, I think.
Most people with Parkinson's tend to start to develop symptoms when they're over 50, but we know that treating the condition as early as possible is key. Oscar first noticed tremors 3 years ago when he was recovering from COVID.
It's starting this shake or move, no voluntary moves. So it's going to shake more and more and more and more. I need to put the left hand over the right hand to you know, it's a social part of the. And also another symptom is in Spanish say rigidez.
Grip strength.
Grip strength.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
And that's it. Involuntary. All of you. It's like another people living inside me.
Not long to go now. These are the final preparations, and then for the procedure that might bring Oscar the relief that has so far eluded him.
The worst part of this is when the physicians tell you that, sorry, no solve, no, there is no solution for your sickness. No solution, my God.
Must be absolutely horrendous to hear that.
It's very difficult to explain, but...
you want to get back control?
Yes, I need to go and back. I need to get back control. That's it.
Today, Oscar's undergoing a procedure that uses high-frequency focused ultrasound. Whilst it's been used to treat essential tremor and Parkinson's tremor for over a decade, more recently it's also been undergoing various trials for tackling other symptoms of the disease, including rigidity and slowness of movement. In Oscar, all of these are being targeted. Before getting started, though, there's a lot of prep. First, this frame is attached to his head. Those pins don't actually go into the skin, but they do allow for clinicians to fix the head firmly in position. Next, a membrane is fitted to the frame. This creates a very tight seal to circulate water around the head, because without the water, the ultrasound beams don't go through the skull. It acts a bit like an ultrasound jelly. And it's crucial there are no air bubbles.
Seeing that put on his head was quite something. There was a bit of blood, the swelling, but still this is nothing compared to actual invasive brain surgery.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Soon.
Thank you.
The patient is given some pretty low-tech tests to do, like gripping things, assessing flexibility or drawing shapes during the procedure. It helps the medics be sure that they're targeting the right part of the brain. Success of the procedure relies on this feedback, which is why Oscar remains awake and able to communicate throughout.
So we are about to mark the target. We are going to make the lesion here. Here you can see both red nucleus. And this is like a lentil. This is like a small bean. And we need to be in the posterior part of the nucleus subthalamicus. It's kind of this.
Being with the doctors at this point, I could really feel the pressure. They're aiming for the motor part of the thalamus, which treats the tremor. They need to target the right area and at the same time as deciding on the right dose of the ultrasound. These long-term hopes are hugely ambitious. Success could be groundbreaking for those with the disease. But how is this going to help Oscar in the more immediate future?
By delivering that energy there, in the point of convergence, there is an increase of temperature. And this increase of temperature creates an ablation, a lesion. So we sort of burn neurons that, because of the disease, are having abnormal pathological activity. By burning those neurons, we revert this pathological activity and the symptoms improve. And the main advantage of focused ultrasound is that we can have this impact on pathological brain networks without the need of a skull incision or penetrate into the brain. We can do it with an intact skull. And that is, in my opinion, the game changer factor.
What are the risks of side effects? What could happen?
Well, of course, you're doing a brain lesion, and it's well controlled how you do this lesion, but you don't have 100% of control. And if the lesion grows to unwanted structures, that can happen. It's not frequent, but that can happen. Then you can impact on structures that have functions like balance. Patients can have imbalance, or speech disorders, or even motor weakness, which probably is the most concerning. It's uncommon, but still this can happen.
But despite all of this, within 24 hours, do you expect Oscar to be up and about living his normal life again?
Yeah, well, cautiously. Few weeks to get completely stable, because again, as there is a lesion in the brain, there is inflammation as well, and we have to manage medications. But yeah, in a few weeks, he's going to go back to his normal life, but without the clinical signs that he has today.
Without the tremor?
Without tremor, without rigidity.
Exactly.
Exactly.
I've been given the nod that they're finished, so let's see how Oscar's doing. Well done. Well done, you've made it. Just watching you from out here,
Oh, yeah.
I was imagining how claustrophobic that must have been.
How many hours was?
Was it about 2.5 hours?
Yeah, maybe.
Did it feel longer?
Look at more.
Did it hurt at all?
Excuse me?
Any pain?
No pain. No pain. Not really.
Just very still and
Yes.
trapped.
Yes.
But now you're free.
Yeah, in a submarine.
And hopefully you'll be free of your symptoms as well.
Yes.
Oscar is ready to go back to the ward. And the big question is, has the treatment worked?
Just a few hours ago, shaking without control. I feel grateful, alive, good, and full of power to go on my life.
It will take some years to know whether the full long-term goal of slowing disease progression has been achieved. But for Oscar right now, well, since filming, part of his tremor has returned. It is still milder than it was, but his doctors say that another ultrasound treatment may be necessary. He is hopefully, though, on the way to a fuller and potentially lasting recovery.
One of the world's most persistent environmental threats is toxic chemicals finding their way into global water supplies. Some of the most difficult chemicals to remove are toxic per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, better known as PFAS.
PFAS can be found in a variety of everyday products, from food packaging to shampoo, due to their non-stick, stain-resistant and waterproof properties. That non-stick pan you have in your kitchen cupboard probably has PFAS in it. These synthetic PFAS substances are also known as forever chemicals, as their composition makes them extremely difficult to break down and destroy through traditional water treatment methods. I've come to Oxford Brookes University to meet the scientists hoping to solve this problem with bubbles. They've developed a new machine called a hydrodynamic reactor that uses bubbles which form and collapse due to changes in pressure, a process called cavitation that helps to clean the water.
These bubbles are not like the air bubbles or the temperature bubbles, the boiling bubbles that we see in a boiling water, let's say. When you increase the temperature, these bubbles are formed due to pressure fluctuations, pressure differences, and so they are more energetic, and when they are collapsing or imploding, they produce some effects like powerful shock waves and local hotspots that can reach extreme temperatures in the range of 1,000 degrees C.
These bubbles collapse at a tiny scale, and the extreme temperatures and shock waves created help to break apart the molecular structure of the PFAS chemicals.
Basically, we have cavitation reactor in the heart of this setup, and the idea is that we are just using the running pressure inside the wastewater treatment plant. So we don't use any auxiliary force to guide the flow from the container to inside our microfluidic devices. So we are using the existed actually energy in the wastewater treatment plants to guide the flow through these tubings, and then everything are happening here inside the reactor. So cavitation bubbles are happening here inside the reactor, and they treat the PFAS inside those.
Trials of the reactor showed it could achieve a 36% degradation rate of PFAS without the need for any additional chemicals. The research is still experimental, but the scientists behind it are confident that it could be scaled up in as little as 2 years.
And ultimately, where do you hope that this reactor might end up?
The beauty of this reactor is that it doesn't really need electricity to operate, just pressurized gas. So potentially it can be used for poor countries where there are communities without electricity, and they can use the reactor, purify water, and for example drink it. They just, every time the pressurized gas is filled out, they can use a new one and replace it, and that's it.
The humble bubble might just end up making the world's water that little bit safer to drink.